Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Some StarCraft 2 commentary for you today. Today's matchup will be between Grubby and LLL's Orly. We can see here Grubby spawning in the upper right position as our green Protoss player, and here in the upper left we do have Orly as the red Zerg player. Now, Orly is an individual that I have not casted any games of, so I am certainly looking forward to see his gameplay and see how he performs. Obviously, it must be a fairly decent player coming up against Grubby. Grubby is certainly a solid Protoss, obviously well known as well from his Warcraft 3 days. People who play more than one game, thumbs up in my book. We can see Grubby now dropping the pylon here at the front of his natural expansion. We are, of course, here on Shakuras Plateau, and obviously this implies Forge Fast Expand, so Grubby will, of course, be doing that. Very solid opener. I see it almost all the time on this map when there's a Zerg opponent. Protoss player almost always Forge Fast Expands here on Shakuras Plateau. And it works fairly well. There's so many different transitions you can move into. The whole idea, of course, is just that you get up that early forge, very quick expansion, and then you kind of decide from there what you'd like to do. We can see Starport play Phoenix Harass. We can see going quickly for Colossus, though that is quite not nearly as common as either opening up with some Stargate play or more probably a 6 or 7 gate big push. That's something that we see almost all of the time with the Forge Fast Expand. We can see, of course, Grubby scouting out Orly's base, seeing, well, look at that, super early spawning pool, and I'm surprised I didn't get more excited about that because this could very well be pretty devastating for Grubby. Grubby now obviously scouting that out. He sees the Zerglings in creation. That is obviously what they are, given the fact that that pool came out so very early. He needs to finish this wall off, and even though he does, all of these buildings will not be completed. He will not have a cannon in by the time these Zerglings come into play, so the Zerglings are going to try to break down this wall, get into Grubby's base before that cannon finishes. It's really going to come down to how well Grubby is able to continuously build this wall and protect the cannon once it does come through. So we can see two Zerglings pushing out right now, scouting. That is their main intention right now. We can see them splitting, going in different directions, and any additional Zerglings will be continuing to push out. But no, actually, look at this. Oh, really not doing that. He's not. He's going for a quick expansion, and Grubby will be moving back to scout it. So very interesting mind play there by Orly. Obviously, the idea in this was to force Grubby to build up this huge wall in preparation for the strong Zergling push, but then just not go through with it and just expand. You can see, as we can see here, Orly has only built 2 Zerglings. And yeah, that is it. But luckily for Grubby, he did move back and scouted out the fact that that is not what was happening, so he didn't actually kind of overreact to what he was expecting to be a super strong Zergling push. So great job on Goody's part for doing that secondary scouting, spotting the expansion, and realizing that heavy Zerglings weren't coming. Interesting mind game by Orly, and in all honesty, if Grubby hadn't done that secondary scouting, if he hadn't gotten the probe back in to check that expansion, we would be seeing at least probably a little bit more here, maybe another cannon kind of unnecessarily, and maybe a secondary building here as well. That's not as likely. We would have definitely probably seen a second cannon go down. So great job, Grubby. Fantastic work there. We can see now coming down with the simulators, getting ready to make that switch, that transition. Once he starts to get this second base up saturated, then he'll start to work on those extra production buildings. So Orly, of course, will be a little bit behind economically in the sense that he could be much further ahead than he is right now, given the fact that he did go for that 10 pool. That certainly hurts your economy. The trade-off is typically early aggression, but again, as we saw, Orly was just trying to play a little bit of mind games here. Now we're going to see actually Orly scout out that third, looking. This is a pretty popular placement for a proxy pylon, hidden in the corner at the third expansion on the Zerg opponent's half of the map. So great job Orly checking that out just in case. I'm assuming that he will actually be looking to move into a third sometime relatively soon. He obviously knows that Grubby has gone for this Forge Fast Expand build. Now we can see Stalker coming out. We'll be trying to get a couple shots there on the Overlord. I do expect the Overlord to be able to make it into safety, though. The Stalker doesn't have quite enough time. He's trying to find a nice spot to position that Overlord, though, so that later on down the road he can use it for some secondary scouting. And there we go. Now just out of the range of that Stalker. Stalker will be attempting to make it onto the low ground to do some damage, and actually that Overlord does need to be a little bit careful. Is he within vision? Very, very close. Wow, look at that. Perfect spot. So there you go. For you Zerg players, you know a great spot to not be shot at by stalkers. Right over here on this little ledge, he can enjoy the view, the scenery. Look at the beautiful water reflection. I need to pay attention to the effing game. Back over here, Overlord getting ready to move in for secondary scouting, positioning himself back over here. We do have 2 hatcheries in the main. Obviously, they're, yeah. Anyways, double Evo chambers as well. And let's keep an eye as to what he intends on going. What are these upgrades going to be? Carp is level 1, and are we going to see range or melee level 1 upgrades? We need to keep an eye on that. Only one reason to get double Evo chambers, and that is if you're getting double upgrades. So come on, Orly, get some additional upgrades here. I'll stop staring at. We can pay attention to the production tab. That is more than adequate. There we go. The melee level 1 has just come through. Now we can see over here, Grubby is coming out with the level 1 weapons upgrade. He is going to be chrono boosting that out. Let's keep an eye out for some gateways. There we go. We have got 6 gateways up here in the main. There is number 7. So Grubby will be going with a 7-gate push. You will either see a level 1 7-gate push, or he may wait until he gets both the level 1 weapons and the level 1 armor upgrade. That's an option as well, although just pushing out with the level 1 weapons does seem to be quite adequate most of the time. Very important to note that Orly does have a 3rd hatchery, so he's got the extra larva production, but the thing he's certainly lacking right now is the extra income. So a very interesting choice not to go for that 3rd expansion. I'm guessing he was just concerned about dealing with something like a 7-gate push and how difficult it would be to protect his 3rd and his natural at the same time. So as such, just sticking with the 2 bases and the extra hatchery. Now we can see Roach Warren is in, Layer is up as well. He's also coming through with the Baneling Nest. Now are we going to see that Roach speed come through? Yeah, then that is quite interesting in all honesty. So Speedling, Roach, Baneling will be his unit composition of choice. We can also see the Vengeful Sacks coming through, so we'll be going for some dropping. Actually, I wasn't even paying attention. I just assumed that was Overlord speed. That's pretty common to just get Overlord speed right when that layer pops for the scouting and just for protecting those Overlords, giving them a little bit more mobility. But here comes a big strong push right now. Obviously this isn't a lot, but Grubby will be warping in some more units. He is placing that proxy pylon right outside the front, staging and getting ready to push in. He will first test the water, seeing lots of spine crawlers and a few roaches. Doesn't want to engage. The roaches here really aren't walking down that ramp for fear of sentries cutting their army in half, and that'd just be devastating and unnecessary losses. 18 Jugglins coming through as well. Also the speed upgrade for those Overlords and the level 1 range. So lots of upgrades coming through for Orly. But the real big question is, will he be able to defend himself and protect himself against a strong 7-gate push? In fact, we can also see a Robotics Bay coming through right now as well. So possibly concerned about Burrowed Roaches. Does want to get that Observer in play. And there we go. A couple of Force Fields is trying to engage. Warping in some additional units here. Stalkers in the background. Just trying to do a little bit of damage and then push back without losing too much. Let's take a quick look at the unit loss tab. Grubby has actually lost more in that engagement or overall throughout the course of the game. There's that Overseer Scout, and he's pretty much seen everything right now. Should be spotting that 3rd as well. But yes, Grubby stage right out front, and look at that pylon placement, going to be delaying any possible 3rd for Orly. We're going to see Grubby trying to push up right now. Does have a few Stalkers pretty far in the background. And there we go. Nice force field wall. He's going to be able to snipe down most of these spine crawlers. A few units streaming in, but not too much of a concern. Here comes the Overlord dropper right now. That is probably filled with Banelings. Yes, it is. And the Banelings and Speedlings mopping up and doing lots of damage to his push, allowing those roaches to leave. He dropped right on those sentries, sniping them down. And there you go. Now, Orly is supply capped. The big danger in doing something like that is that you're going to lose some Overlords. So momentary supply cap, but he should be alleviating that sometime soon. He does have 1 Overlord. I'd suggest building maybe 1 or 2 more, just so there we go. So a couple more Overlords will be coming on through. So Grubby's aggression managed to do a little bit of damage, killing off a few spine crawlers, but overall probably wasn't all that worth it. Some very nice drop play there with those Banelings and Speedlings mopping up the sentries, and that of course allowed those roaches to push through without any more fear of dealing with any of those force fields. And we can see right now, we're really finally dealing with this pylon placement. This will allow him to pull over and expand, and there we go. Orly will be dropping an expansion. Look at this, some continued pushing right now from Grubby. Grubby does need to be a little bit careful, being caught in the midfield without a lot of sentries against a Zerg player, especially one that is Speedling heavy. Very dangerous indeed. You definitely need, unless you have some massive AoE damage or something like Heavy Colossus or Storm numbers, very hard without force field to not get overwhelmed by a properly placed Zerg army. And look at this, Orly will be doing some of this drop harassment very likely into the main base, unless he's just hoping for an engagement, and will be dropping right on the main unit or the main army of Grubby. But using these banelings, of course, to drop inside of the resource line can be very effective, especially if your protest opponent has made quite enough attention. A little contamination going down on that forge, delaying any more upgrades coming through. We do have speedlings. We'll be scouting out the third. Nothing there, though. We can see units all over the place. And where the F are these banelings go? There we go. Speedlings running right into natural expansion. Grubby not spotting that. That is very scary right now. He will be taking some pretty devastating losses. We can see actually the speedlings not concentrating on the workers, and that's a little bit concerning right now. He did actually go straight for the stalker and that cannon there as well. We do have some aggression getting ready to push out right now, and he will be dropping right on the main army here. Grubby, hopefully he's paying attention, and we'll be seeing this. The banelings are coming, and here it goes. Baneling showers, taking a bit of damage right there, and that is the type of shower that you do not want, my friends. I don't know what I'm talking about. Roaches will be trying to target fire down this Nexus. Speedlings moving forward to engage. A little bit too threatening there, but if the Roaches can take this down, Grubby, it could be in a bit of danger. Some nice force fields, though, and actually the Roaches not continuing their target fire. Don't want to actually lose these unnecessarily. We'll be pushing back. Obviously, something really big, though, is that this is weakened up, so during the next aggression that we see from Orly, he will have a much easier time of dropping that. We've got 22 Zerglings coming through. There's a few Roaches hanging on for dear life there. Still, Grubby is sitting on the third, but this is in a very dangerous position right now because he can get hit from multiple angles in terms of the drop, so I guess that could happen anywhere. But anyways, yes, lots of Roaches here at the midfield. The Speedlings will be moving forward as well. We can see right now Orly finally getting that third saturated. He definitely needs to do that because Grubby has been on this third for quite a while longer than Orly has, so that's a little bit concerning. Speedlings run right into the main, though. We'll be moving up into the resource line and hopefully trying to do a bit of damage. That cannon, though, could thwart their efforts, as well as these two zealots and stalkers pushing forward. Again, Orly getting ready to mount an attack. We do have an infestation pit coming out, and is he actually going to be retreating? Here comes a little bit of testing the waters here. Grubby getting a few free kills. Orly hopefully will be pulling back with his units. These Zerglings have been mopped up. A couple Zealots, Stalker, and that cannon were enough, and here we go. Some few more Roaches, ton more Speedlings as well. Are these Banelings? Yes, they are, so here we go. We'll be seeing another push. Banelings will, of course, be going straight for the sentries. Nice force field wall, though. Zerglings forced to go around to the other side. Here come the Banelings. He's trying to spread out his sentries to try to prevent any heavy losses from these Banelings. Banelings going right on top. Are they going to hit the sentries? Oh, just a little bit of damage. Don't manage to take them out, though. Some nice force fields, and Grubby again holding this back. He did take some damage, but not as much as Orly had hoped to do. There are enough sentries there to keep up this force field wall. Again, going right into the natural, but there we go. Zealot blocking the way, plus that cannon. Those Zerglings not paying enough attention and actually just kind of suiciding themselves right into the fist of that Zealot and that cannon. So here we go. Orly pretty low in terms of saturation over here. He's been going pretty hard against Grubby for the past couple of minutes. He is just determined to break this. Again, realizing that this Nexus is weakened, he just really wants to drop it. The Zerglings will be delaying any attempted expansion over here from Grubby unless he brings a force to take them out. And here we go, some more reinforcement Roaches. This is just not the best position to engage. That's my only real big concern here for Orly, because how devastating force fields can be. He just keeps trying the same thing over and over again. It's like hitting your head against the wall. What is it that they say? The sign of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and hoping for a different result. Are you insane, Orly? Because it's seeming to be that he's trying the exact same tactic, and obviously Grubby should be prepared for it. Unless he's caught with his pants down, he should have no problem. So we will see a force field wall and then the spread out of his units. We can't even right now spreading the units, knowing what is coming. He's fully aware of what to expect, and actually we'll be trying some diversion tactics here, dropping right in the resource line. Baneling doing a bit of damage. Very nice. And we've got another drop that will be going into the natural expansion, and look at this. Actually, Grubby trying to break down these back rocks, and here comes the drop inside of his natural, and is Grubby gonna be ready for this? Let's see if the Banelings are able to do some damage. There we go, paying enough attention. We'll actually just be pulling back with that Overlord. Doesn't want to bother engaging. At the same time, Speedlings repositioning. Roaches getting ready to engage. We've got infestors this time, and the army isn't there for the force field, and Grubby trying to do these force fields, but maybe a little bit late. Look at those fungal growths that will allow the Banelings to get dropped right on top, and this is not looking good at all for Grubby. Taking lots of damage at fungal growth, allowing those Banelings to drop right on the head of that entire bulk of units. And I guess Orly isn't insane, because Grubby was, I don't know, he was taken out by that, even though it was more or less the same thing, I suppose, with the addition there of those infestors. Great job there by Orly, and that is going to force Grubby's GG. Orly opened up this game with a 10 pool, while Grubby had decided to open up with a Forge Fast Expand. Now, of course, the 10 pool poses a problem that the Forge and the Wall Off will not be up by the time the Zerglings hit. So initially, Grubby was expecting to get hit with a lot of Zerglings, and this may have caused him to overreact. However, although a 10 pool implies early aggression, what we actually saw Orly do was just build one set of Zerglings and push out with that, and then move into an expansion. The entire idea behind what he was doing here was to play a little bit of mind games with Grubby, and we're going to see these Zerglings try to track down that scouting probe. Grubby was able to get his scouting probe into the natural and scout the fact that Orly wasn't in fact pushing with strong Zerglings and was indeed just trying to psych out Grubby. Realizing that Orly might be a bit behind, Grubby decided to go for a level 1 7-gate push. Knowing that his opening 10 pool put him behind economically and made him vulnerable to early aggression, we did actually see Orly come out with quite a few spine crawlers, and he actually quick teched up to Baneling dropping. Now we're going to see some attempted aggression here from Grubby, although Grubby wasn't really able to push in and do too much damage because of these spine crawlers. And then actually what ends up happening is Orly, with these overlords, was able to stop this contain here and push back the aggression from Grubby. During his 7-gate push, we saw Grubby move out to his 3rd, and then during pretty much the rest of the game, all we saw Orly do was consistently hit his head and try to knock out this 3rd, and we're going to see the same tactic for a few engagements in a row, trying to drop down some Banelings on top of those sentries and then push forward with the Spielings and Roaches. Now this initial push didn't end up taking Grubby's expansion. Grubby was able to get enough warp-ins to actually push back and defend against it, but we'll see Orly try to break it again and again. Now, luckily for him, on his last push, he had incorporated some infestors, and this helped tremendously, allowing him to fungal growth on top of Grubby's army, and that let those Banelings do their work, essentially, and then the Roaches and Spielings were able to mop up everything else, and this is, in fact, what forced Grubby's GG. So pretty cool game between these two players. Hopefully you have enjoyed it. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you like the commentary, please subscribe to the channel. Thanks again, guys. Keep watching and keep owning.